Welcome back to Quid Pros Quo. I'm Issa.
And I'm Rin.
And today we are talking about our writing journeys. Honestly, pretty excited for this one as
I'm
well.
so excited.
I love talking about myself. I love asking other people about how they've gotten to where they are. So without further ado, prepare to be interrogated.
I mean, same to you.
Yeah, so I'll ask you this to start. Okay?
Yes.
Like, obviously, you're a writer now. This is why we're doing the podcast, but, like, how long have you been doing this? When did you start even thinking about writing?
Literally just my whole life. Like, I remember...
Like, out of the womb. You're like...
Okay, not like out of the womb. No one is doing anything out of the womb. But practically, yeah. We're thinking, like, preschool, kindergarten early. Like, I loved reading
gotcha.
and I loved writing. And, like, I would write, like, little novels and short stories. Like I definitely wrote, like, a, quote, novel when I was in, like, first grade or so. It was called Jungle Adventure, I think.
You know what? That sounds fantastic.
And yeah, it was like, you know, I made it into a little booklet and it was like 16 pages, but it was also like half the page was a picture.
You know what? Those are the best.
Yeah, so
Those are
really
the
I
best
wrote a
stories.
picture book. But I
That's
put it into
cute.
like chapters, but like each chapter was like a page or two.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah, very cute. I kind of wish I still had it. I think that would be such a great memory, but I just don't think I have it anywhere, and I doubt my mom does either, because you know how moms keep stuff. It just doesn't seem like something that would have gotten kept.
Gotcha. Okay. Question number 2.
Okay. Are we going to keep
Just
track of
kidding.
it?
I'm not going to actually keep track. I just wanted to be dramatic a bit. But, so you said, obviously, that part of this is because you like to read and whatever. Mm-hmm. But do you think you can search the recesses of your mind and think, like what, even if not at the preschool point, but further down the road, what or who or which things kind of inspired you and kickstarted the journey, or like did you get some like affirmation or just personal satisfaction out of it, and like what started you off, what kept you going?
I mean, maybe all kids get lots of praise from their teachers, but I definitely got lots of praise from my teachers for always being writing and being creative, and like I really loved doing I think it was also like first grade we did like journal entries and we did like creative writing journals. So like just like being exposed to it so much is really like what got me going, and the praise was a nice addition because I love praise. But as for like reading and why I wanted to transform my reading experience into a writing experience was honestly the escapism. Like, it's not like I had a bad childhood or anything, but I did have like, I loved to escape the regular world and go somewhere fantastical, like the world of like Harry Potter or whatever, or Percy Jackson. Like, I just loved it so much. So I wanted to create an experience for other people to experience what I had experienced from reading.
That is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Tell me about the beginning of your writing journey.
I don't remember when it began. I just remember being on it.
Nice.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But I wrote because I wanted to learn how to write.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting letters into words in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, like it was important to me because learning how to read and write just was something I enjoyed, I guess, as a child, if I remember correctly, because that was forever ago.
Yeah, no,
And so
we're
I just
old.
remember ancient. So I just remember wanting to write things, and because I wanted to be able to write.
Yeah.
Period. And so that definitely helped me begin. And I remember this assignment I had in elementary school. Well, I guess maybe, I don't remember what part of it was an assignment, okay? But we were going over amphibians.
I love amphibians so much, but keep going.
You're gonna love this then.
Okay.
So I wrote this wonderful story, okay, about salamanders, frogs,
Amazing.
toads, you name it. It was beautiful. There was Princess Pond. That's the only
Cute.
character I remember. But it was this whole thing, several chapters. I don't think I completed it because I only had to reach like X pages or X words or X specific types of amphibians.
Yeah.
You know?
You just had to meet the requirements of the
Whatever
project.
those happened to be back then in
Yeah.
second grade. But I just was so excited.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think some of the storytelling that I liked, and I guess still impacts me today, is just like, you know, when you like have your little like toys or whatever, and it's just you and your imagination sitting on your bedroom floor with your dolls, hopefully, or whatever else you might have, blocks.
Yeah.
I don't freaking know. There was a lot of storytelling that went on there to make that fun, and it was fun, and I loved it. And so I just think storytelling and being enchanted with that
Yes. That's such a good way to put it.
has just started me, sustained me. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of people, when I tell them I'm a writer, they're like, oh my gosh, I was writing a novel when I was like 8 or 12 or whatever.
You know, I'm surprised at how universal that experience is.
Yeah.
Because when you are that age, it feels like it's you
and
alone
your life
who are doing it.
Yes.
Which is great, and it is a good outlet.
Yes.
I will acknowledge those things.
Yes. But like, what do you think sets you apart from everyone who is doing the same, like also writing cool amphibian stories in second grade?
I didn't
Like,
stop.
There you go. Perfect.
I didn't stop, and I would do it as more than an assignment, not necessarily as an escape.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that wasn't so much my experience, but I definitely, I don't know, I just kept going because my imagination kept supplying things. Not necessarily like in the same family of ideas or even somewhat related at all, but just I found I had the wherewithal to keep going, so I did.
Yeah. Awesome.
What about you?
I think I started like seriously writing like the summer I turned 16. Like I very like vividly remember sitting in my aunt's and uncle's house and being like, well, no, it started earlier than that. Earlier that summer, I'm trying to like give this story with like as little like irrelevant detail as possible just to preserve time. But I was at home in Idaho where we had no furniture because we had moved. So I was in a sleeping bag on the floor, and I was just like sitting there and imagining things. And I came up with this like really cute scene of like one best friend confessing like his love for another best friend like around a fire in like this unfamiliar world. I'm like, that's so cute. I love that. Friends to Lovers is like my favorite.
Cute.
Yeah, right? And so I remember like the next day going and sitting in my aunt and uncle's house because that's where the Wi-Fi was, because like I said, we didn't have any furniture in our house in Idaho because we had moved.
Right.
And I opened up a Google Doc and I started typing. And like, you know, I got like a little bit of the ways and I was like, oh, I need to do more. And that was the beginning of me figuring out I was a planner. And so then I had like lots of note documents and notebooks filled with notes on this project, which I ended up entitling The Black Cloud. And it's fun. It's like a portal fantasy.
Cute.
Very cute. And it's a metaphor for something that like, again, trying to like minimize irrelevant detail. Something that I've been taught my entire life. And I didn't even realize it was a metaphor until I explained it to someone my freshman year of college, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is a metaphor for like this thing in our church. And I was like, wow, you're so right. It is. But yeah, now I finished 4 novels and I have like several more in progress. I've done All Hail the Queen of Hearts, which is published. You can read it. It's an Alice in Wonderland twisted fairy tale where Alice is the Queen of Hearts. Then the other 3 are just in progress, The Black Cloud is going to undergo a rewrite when I have the time and energy. Asphodel is super fun. It's a Greek mythology dystopia, and it's like for fans of Percy Jackson who grew up and are now in college, and also fans of the Lunar Chronicles. I feel like.
Nice.
Yeah, it's super fun. And then Aaron Ascending, which is also undergoing a reboot to become Cosmos Collapsing, and it should be a much better story once I get back to it.
Nice. So
Yeah.
it sounds like
I've been all over.
you're just all in at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine like stopping writing.
And I think that is also a distinguishing factor.
Yes,
If you can't
absolutely.
see yourself without it, then it is
Yes.
essential to who you are.
Exactly.
You know, and this is not a blanket statement that applies to everything ever.
Yes.
This is specifically about writing and hobby type things,
Yes.
not about trauma.
Yes.
Anyways, I just feel like I have to make a disclaimer now and then.
Every once in a while, we should make
Every once in a
disclaimers.
while.
Because, like, again, we're just two people, and as we talked about in the last episode, there's no one ideal representation of a single experience.
That is
So this is
true.
our experience as writers, and it's not going to be your experience as a writer necessarily.
That's so true. Okay, so now I do have a follow-up question
Yes.
before I'm assuming we move on to me. I don't know if
Yes.
you weren't sure. But, okay, so my follow-up question is this. And first I'll briefly summarize how you got from A to B.
Okay.
So you're sitting there writing.
Yes, as one does.
And then sooner or later, you're sitting there writing. And so now, that was the worst summary ever. But basically, you've gone from just like enjoying writing, escaping through writing, figuring out that it's fun, to self-publishing, managing multiple projects, coming up with dozens more, no doubt, that I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
Which, fair enough.
We can talk
and-
about future projects another time.
Of course. But, so you have all of this that you've accomplished and are doing, which is so cool to see looking
Thank
back
you.
to where you are now. Can I ask, as far as like developing craft or just having fun with things that you like, you know, like outside of like major projects, has that like have like a big part of your...
Yeah. Like, I don't just write, you know, my novels all the time. Like, I really enjoy writing, like, poetry. I think that's super fun, and that's often a far more personal project. Even though I do plan to eventually incorporate a lot of poetry into a kind of memoir type thing I want to write. Because I think it would be fun to have a memoir.
It does sound really
It
romantic.
sounds so cool, right?
Yeah.
But like, well, I think my biggest piece of writing advice is probably just like write for yourself. Like, I started like Aaron Ascending because I was like, I want to write a story about lesbian space pirates.
So just to clarify, these writing advice, these are things you've learned from your journey specifically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I've seen the advice like write for yourself, but it's
you
very
lived
much
it, and you
yeah,
know it to be
it's- I've
true out of
internalized
your
it.
own experience.
Yeah. Like, I just, like, wanted to write a fun story about space lesbians. And, like...
So now you're preparing for that and doing it.
Exactly.
You're doing it. You're setting
like,
goals and achieving them.
Having finished one, like, 60 or 80,000 word draft,
Now
I've,
you
like...
know how to, like, plan time for the next one, and you know it's doable. You can.
Exactly. And I'm, like, giving it to my writing group, and they're giving me feedback on, like, how to actually make it something worth reading. Which is,
Wonderful.
like... hard sometimes because sometimes critiques are hard to hear, but like it's still worth it. Other things I've learned is just like writing is about grit and determination, like just like holding on and working through it, because like sometimes the middle of a story is just not fun, but like you can always like you can edit a bad draft, you can't edit a blank page, you know, so you just have to like get stuff on the paper, and if you keep going it's going to work out. But, again, like I said before, it's 100% easier to not do things than to do them. But I don't think anything hard, let me, like, figure out the right way to say it, is, like, anything hard is worth doing, you know? And it's worth doing poorly at first because
'Cause
getting
that counts as
something.
effort rather than having nothing.
Exactly. Because like I said, you can edit a bad draft, you can't edit a blank page. What about you? What have you learned from your many years of writing where you don't even remember where it started?
Oh my gosh. I feel like maybe my biggest takeaways from just experiencing writing, being on the periphery of a writing community, just doing my own whatever the hell it is. My major takeaways are probably that you kind of have to nurture your process and understand that the first time might not be perfect for you,
Mm-hmm.
and that one bad time or bad run of things doesn't automatically mean that you can't write
Mm-hmm.
or that you don't have any ideas worth writing about. And I also really believe in, the power of like talking out ideas with other people.
Yes, absolutely.
Not in ways that, and this isn't to say like, other people are helping you write your story for you. That's
Yes.
not what I'm saying.
No.
But like, when you have something you're excited about and you bounce ideas around to somebody, even if all they're doing is nodding their head and saying yeah occasionally,
Mm-hmm.
that's still way more helpful than just sitting on it in your head.
Yes,
You know,
I agree.
It helps like to think about things out loud with somebody, and if they happen to also be a creative, or if you have a long, well, not necessarily long, but if you have some history being like, okay, we're going to do this little creative thing together, or you can just sit here and I'm going to talk at you, then having that comfort level can also definitely help. You can, some people will talk to themselves out loud when they're by themselves. And just, I think that having space to explore your creative ideas before you, dive into them and commit, I think is so important. It's almost like a form of drafting, honestly.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
kind of helps to crystallize things, clarify them.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, I think that wraps us up.
Yeah, well, this has been our writing journeys on Quid Pros Quo. Next week, we'll be talking about our New Year's resolutions, specifically those pertaining to writing. Again, this has been Quid Pros Quo. I'm Issa.
And I'm Rin.
See you next week.